Welcome to the Journey Home podcast, where we explore the remarkable paths of ordinary people who have triumphed through life's storms to find unwavering faith and a profound sense of meaning. Through intimate interviews, we dive deep, revealing the unfiltered truths of their journey. Together, we'll explore faith's transformative power, the resilience of the human spirit, and the unshakable truth that no matter how far we may stray, we are all on our journey home. Welcome back to the Journey Home podcast. It is such an honor to be hosting Ross and Rebecca Rowan today. We are just so thrilled to have you guys. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
If you don't know, they are huge contributors to the help of what happened in Western North Carolina. And we just wanted to give them a platform to kind of share their story and everything that's happened over the course of these last couple of weeks. You have helped save so many lives and helped people get out of some really hard predicaments. And it was so amazing knowing you guys and then witnessing what an impact you made so quickly. And so I just kind of wanted to hear how it all unfolded and ultimately where we're at now.
Yeah, so that first weekend, I guess it was end of the month, and then coming into this new month, we had that weekend where it was that Friday before when I was getting videos already from flooding up there from friends and family. We had some friends that were out at Hound Deer's area, and the golf course was like completely flooded on that Friday, and I just knew, obviously growing up there, and you as well, when it rained up there, it did flood. It wasn't room for the water to grow. But Friday, the storm hadn't even touched. The eye had not even reached Florida yet. So yeah, it was something just wasn't right. And then obviously that whole weekend, didn't sleep, didn't eat, laid up all night, worried for everybody. And then that storm came that weekend, and just obviously. Monday we started hearing things. Sunday we started hearing things Sunday, but like Bat Cove and Swannanoa up in the higher areas there that were just hollers, really just small hollers that were getting just wiped off the map. And so we're hearing from family and friends up that way, touching base with everybody. And then Monday I just was on the way to work, and I was like, this is something. I just, in my gut, obviously we know what that is, it's like, God's like, dude, you got to do something. These are your people, and I just I felt like I was there, I'm hurting, we're hurting for our people, but we got to do something. There's got to be something. And then also we realized that we're on the other side of this stick too, a lot of times being on the coast, this should have been us, not them. They don't have hurricanes in the mountains. Sure, they have rain and flash flooding and that sort of thing, but Monday I'm on the way to work. I got to the office. I knew that I was like, all right, we can either start getting donations, we can start doing just bring whatever you think. We'll kind of kickstart this thing. And my first phone call was to Pastor Mike Ashcraft at Port City at our church. And, he answered the call. We kind of talked it over, saying, look, I know you've got your platform. I've got a small one. I happen to have some good friends in the area, so some good contacts that I feel like they could help us get this thing going. I got the logistics end of things because, that's part of my job. Obviously, my job is as a freight broker, but so I knew I had the logistics end of things. It was just a matter of us getting the goods, figuring out where we're going to bring them, where we're going to take them, that sort of thing. And so talked to Mike. Mike's like, give me some time. Let me see what I can put together on my end. A second call was to Mr. Legg, who is our owner of Megacorp Logistics. Heart of gold. I call him a friend for sure. He's a good friend, and he knew when I called, he could probably hear it in my voice that we needed to take action. We needed to do something. He knew it was home to me. And he loves to travel to Western North Carolina himself, so he loves the area. He's a mountain guy himself. He's just from West Virginia mountains, not North Carolina, but so he loves to go up there in the summertime, and we've been up there at the same time and hung out with them up there. And he knew it meant a lot to me. He knew that all right, whatever you need, let me know. Just let's go. And so third call was to a customer of mine who I've known for years. They're from that part. They're from Watauga as well, and they got a produce business that I do business with. And they, I said, look, guys, here's what I'm trying to do. Like I know y'all feel the same way I do right now. Their whole entire family's up there between Ash and Watauga and Wilkes. They had tons of them, and so called them up. They were like, let's go. However many trucks you need, let me know. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't ask for fuel. They paid their drivers. They paid their trucks, their equipment, their fuel, everything. So I knew I had the trucks. Now I got to get the stuff. Like now we've got something. And so I just basically, I told Rebecca, I was like, we're pretty private on social media because of our kids now. And so I knew that I was like, right now I'm getting this calling that we got to take this thing off. I mean, there's people that want to help. There's people that want to load up their cars and go just self-deploy, but it's just, it's just like they try and do here. When we get a storm, it's like you get there and then you don't know what to do or who you're working with. It's always better to try and coordinate somehow or another. And so I realized we can do this. So I just basically opened up my social media. I started trying to find every group I could on Facebook that I have no idea. I've learned a lot about all that here in the past few weeks. So I just started creeping on all these pages. I don't even know what they were. It was local Wilmington page, a weather page that everybody was giving me slack on the weather page because I was over here trying to get this thing going. They're like, this is weather only. We're not, get this out of here. And I'm like, well, we're trying to help these people. And so basically I just started throwing it out there. Look, we're going to open our doors at Megacorp, bring diapers, clothes, anything and everything, whatever you can bring. And so that Monday, within that first hour or two, people were showing up to the front door, knocking on Megacorp, like, hey, saw your posting online. I'm like, oh my God, this is working. So didn't expect that. And I was throwing it out there on the Rice Beach pages, everywhere, Carolina, all these pages. And so people were showing up, man. They were showing up. It was crazy. I'm like, 2 hours, like, what in the world? And then we had some friends over there, Judd at Rice Beach Brewery. He's a fellow mountaineer. He's a mountaineer and App State grad. And so he found out what I was trying to do, and he's like, dude, me and Aaron at Qualified Captain just had a thing this morning at Rice Beach Brewery. Dude, we don't have enough room. Like, I filled my trailer up, he's filled his trailer up, and that was Monday morning. So that was like, they had either, I must have missed their message, I missed their post or something, because they had set that up for Monday morning first thing, and people showed up like that. And so we went up, I called Jimmy up, and that was probably, I guess that would have been my fourth phone call, was Jimmy and Keaton, because I knew they had the bike drive box truck. And I was like, we can either pull this in the parking lot, we'll load it up, and as we load that up, we need more room, then we'll start bringing it in. Well, I look across the street, and there is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Tom Toby. Tom Toby has got his own rig, and he had gone and picked up a trailer from a local company that leases out containers and dry vans and things, and had parked over there across the street from us. And I'm like, this is awesome, dude. If this guy is over here, he's rallying too. It's Monday morning. It's not even lunchtime. I look over, he's got cars pulling in the parking lot over there, which of course, half of me's like, honestly, I think some people are going over there and loading up their stuff, which is perfectly fine. It's all going to the same place. And so I roll over there across the street and introduce myself, and I met this guy, and it's Thomas Towing out of Carolina Beach. He's been there. He's a retired firefighter. He's got all his trucks look like fire trucks. They got the gold printing on the side, and he's the one usually towing everybody off the beach that gets stuck, but couldn't have been the nicer guy. I mean, him and his team, it was a group of other retired firefighters. I mean, they were just good old boys looking to help. They had a trailer out there Monday morning, like, ready to go. I'm like, good grief, like, I just stared at the ceiling for 2 nights in a row, and here I am, like, these guys already have a trailer out here, like, ready to go. Inside the trailer, they had pumpkin boxes lined up down the sides where they were on it. They were coordinated. They were like, we're going to put diapers in this one, clothes in this one, shoes. I mean, it just went on. The whole thing was already filled up by lunchtime, just about. He's like, yeah, we're going to probably finish up at the end of the day, and I'm like, good grief, dude, this, I just was speechless, And so fast forward, my guys called back to the truck, how's it going? I took a picture at the end of Monday, I guess it was, the whole entire inside of the cafeteria Megacorp was packed, was full of stuff. So there was a couple of groups around town that had already started organizing. So we had these groups that were organizing around town, but they didn't know how to necessarily get it to the mountains or to somebody specific. And so so end of the day, Monday, you know, I'm like, all right, I'm going to need at least a truck tomorrow, Tuesday. I can't remember, we might have done 2 on Tuesday. My goal to this whole thing was, you know, I told Mr. Legg, I was like, look, I just want to get enough stuff rallied. We can surely load up 1 tractor trailer, right? Full size, 53-foot van, and we'll load it up there. I'll make sure it goes to the right place, this and that.
At the end of the week, you wanted
that Friday. Yeah, so that was my goal. You know, we got 1 week, you know, because we all know, like, by the end of that week, things are going to change, needs are going to change. So I was like, let's just get them, like, just basic needs for now. We'll fill this thing up. I was like, Tom Toby across the street just filled it up on day 1. Surely we can get 1 out by the end of the week. So that Monday, end of the day, I wanted people to, like, know what was happening real time, right? And I'm like, I'm over here, got the camera in my face, like, sobbing on everybody, you know, and I'm like, look, like, this is I just knew this is what it was going to take. Like, people needed to see what was happening day 1. So I'm literally, you know, got the phone in my face, and I wanted them to see the background and see how much stuff we had. Like, it was incredible. I was speechless. And so I said, guys, we're going to need at least 1 tomorrow. I know. So we got the first one loaded up. Next thing you know, 2 men in a truck called. They're like, hey, we see what you're doing. Do you need pallets? What can we bring you? Pallets showed up Tuesday morning. So I didn't know how it was going. My idea, we were just going to throw this stuff in the trailer and take off with it. We weren't going to palletize it. We were going to wrap it. And everybody's like, I think we should probably palletize it. You know, maybe they'll have a forklift out there. I'm like, thinking in my head, I'm like, these people don't even have power. Like, they don't even have gas. Like, how, you know, the forklift is the last thing they're worried about filling up right now. And so that Tuesday morning, two men in a truck showed up. They had pallets. They had hundreds of boxes that they gave us. They brought the shrink wrap, man. They brought the tape guns. And so we just, out back, we started Tuesday morning. Fellow Megacorp employees, their wives, their significant others were showing up, coming there Tuesday morning, started boxing stuff up, taping boxes, labeling them, you know, separating goods, diapers, baby clothes, jackets, things like that, shoes, canned food, things like that. And so first truck shows up, we loaded it to the brim, and I was like, we got enough for another one. So I called them up again, and I said, do you have another truck, like, you know, anywhere close? Because what they would do, they come and drop their load off in Raleigh, deadhead down to Wilmington, which means they're driving with no load. They're just going to get the load. And so they're just doing this out of the kindness of their heart, man. They're good old boys from back home, and they love the Lord like we do. And I knew we were going to get this thing done one way or the other, and not expecting them to just, you know, it was like, just tell me when, where we'll be there. And so Tuesday came, sent in a second truck. And so people are literally coming off their desk at this point to, like, help us pack boxes, help us pack goods. Like, so everybody at this point is, like, going their phone, working, coming back, boxing stuff up. And here we are, we get 2 trucks out, like, that second day. And I'm like, this is insane, you know. So now I'm coming home, and, you know, Rebecca, she's holding it down. And then next thing you know, like, Wednesday came around, and my phone is, somebody's got my number. My phone's blowing up. Random numbers are calling me. You know, I'm tagging everybody and anybody in these posts, one of them being her. And so Wednesday, it was like everybody from up there was either sending me, this is what we need, this is what we need right now, like, this is a list. And then they would send me posts from other places and send it to us. And I was like, I can't even, this is overwhelming at this point. I'm like, I didn't expect this, you know, I'm supposed to be working too, and you know, taking in goods, and cars were just coming up to the curb, carload at a time. And more organizations around town were getting together and rallying, and they're bringing their stuff over, you know, so that's helping us fill the trucks up. And so at that point, I'm like, I called her about lunchtime on Wednesday, and I was like, you got to help me. Like, this is it's, I don't know what we've gotten ourselves into, but we're going to do it now. We're knee deep at this point, but I need you to, like, take over the list. So can I either tell people, give them your name, your Instagram, your information, your Facebook, they'll message you or whatever. So I'm like, here I am, I'm throwing my wife's contact out there. And so she's now taking over the list, because we're getting them from all over the place. And so I knew I knew on that Tuesday evening I was laying there and I'm watching these helicopters, right? I'm watching these guys that have their own aircrafts and they're filling them up, they're flying up there, and it was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Like these guys showing up, and honestly, the majority of them weren't even from North Carolina. So there were folks coming from Virginia, there were folks coming from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina with their own aircrafts, landing up there basically upon arrival, like I'm here, I cannot land my aircraft at this airport, that sort of thing. So I was like, you know what, we got to help. This is crazy. These guys are, and I was watching this happen and I was getting messages from like Sunday night starting about things that were really happening up there, like real time events that news wasn't covering, or radio wasn't covering, the internet wasn't covering, and you're seeing all sorts of stuff. And obviously when these things happen, rumors can get spread fast about misinformation and things like that, and that's obviously never going to be my goal. We're obviously here to help these folks and do what we can do from afar, but it was just incredible to watch these men and women fly these aircrafts, and I put it out on my story, like I want to help these folks, like here's my Venmo, like we need to start raising money. Does anybody know anybody flying up there? I had friends spread out everywhere. Surely somebody knew somebody. And so I got a message like 2 minutes later from one of our friends whose next door neighbor was from Wilmington. He had flown his aircraft up there, his helicopter with his pilot, and they had landed up there at Rutherford County Airport. And so Zeb and his team were up there doing their work. They're the guys who saved the 11-day-old baby. And they're the ones who basically came out with the story on what they did. And it was life or death. That's kind of where it started. But I didn't learn about that story until like 3 or 4 days after I had already been working with Zeb or whatever. So the next text message was from Zeb's wife. And the neighbor gave me Zeb's number, and I texted Zeb, and so Zeb replied like, "Hey man, we're in the air. Like I'll call you, or I'll call you back when we land, or text you back when we land." I'm like, "You're all good, man. I understand. Keep doing your thing. Here's what I want to do to help. I got my Venmo out here. We're raising money. By a couple days, I think I had $20,000 in my Venmo." And so Zeb's wife texted me right after that because he probably told her, "Hey, get up with this guy. He got some random guy trying to hit me up." I'm like, "Nah, man. I know your neighbors. Like, we're cool. Like, I promise you, man. I'm trying to do right here. We don't, no harm." So she texted me, was like, "Hey, understand you're trying to get up with Zeb. What's happening? Like, what are you trying to do?" And I told her, and she's like, "This is incredible. Like, hold on, I'll be right back." And so then I got Zeb's Venmo. I sent Zeb, thousands of dollars in fuel there to start off with. That kind of spread like wildfire. So next I got another fella from Wilmington who had flown his aircraft up there, who does tours out of Southport, like to a frying pan and back. So this guy was up there using his aircraft, and Craig. And so then he's like, "Man, I'll get you in touch with some people." So we started just spreading this. This money was just pouring in. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, thousands of dollars are getting spread. People are sharing my Venmo. People are sharing, what we're trying to do. And I guess just tagging people and spreading the word. So Thursday came around, and it's next thing you know, we're in contact with like Greg Biffle and his wife are flying their aircraft, and the NASCAR, driver from back in the day. He and his wife are flying his aircraft. They've been trying to land on Beach Mountain like Saturday, Sunday, and couldn't. The fog up there, the weather up there, they couldn't get coverage. So he was probably the first person to land on Beach Mountain with water and all that good stuff. So the road was ripped in half going to Beach Mountain. A couple of guys I know, Chris Jones and Robbie, they took their equipment down from Beach Mountain and fixed the road. Made it drivable at least. To get people on and off that mountain, to get them evacuated if they need to. Banner Elk, kind of the same deal happened. Thursday, nobody's showing up, and so basically, how it is up there. Locals kind of take it upon themselves to start doing work, and so Mr. Eggers and his team, they repaired the roads through Banner Elk and Limble, and so everybody just kind of joined together, and at this point, by Thursday and Friday, you're hearing more stories and everything. And it's just, I came home Monday and told Rebecca, like, "Look, this ain't gonna be pretty. Each day that goes by, it's going to get worse. The waters are going to recede. people are missing. I mean, the stuff that I'm hearing is like stuff that nobody knows. And I'm telling her, and like she's like, we're heartbroken. Our emotions are a wreck because we love to go up there. Rebecca's family's had a place up there forever, so we that's kind of our getaway. And so everybody that we know and love are up there, and so we're just trying to figure out how we can help them the best. And so by Thursday, we're in contact. All these helicopter organizations, Operation Airdrop, Hilo out of Hickory, and then Operation Airdrop was out of Statesville. And so Rebecca shared a number with a young lady she went to high school with about halfway through the week, and she was running the Operation Airdrop with some other folks out of Statesville. I mean, stuff happened so quick. Within like 3 days, people were set up at these airports. They were ready to go because there were so many areas you couldn't get to because roads had washed out, bridges had washed out, that you couldn't get to. And so the way everybody was talking, it was like Asheville was like the entire southern part of the mountains of North Carolina, and Boone was just the entire northern part. There was no Ashe County, there was no Buncombe County, Hendersonville, Marshall, all these other places that were hard to get to. Bat Cave, Swannanoa, Flat Rock, Chimney Rock, getting completely washed off the map. You just couldn't get there. So that's where these places that were landing their aircrafts, taking goods up there. And so they were flying out from Statesville and Hickory and going up there and dropping these loads off. But and so at that point, like Wednesday, it probably started where people were like, I'm talking like, people from Michigan, New York, were finding me on Facebook, messaging me on Facebook saying, hey, look, like, we haven't been able to we haven't heard from our family yet. We haven't been able to get a hold of our friends. And they were sending us addresses and coordinates and locations. And I'm like, okay, whoa. Like, I was just trying to load up a truck, y'all. Like, but now they know that I'm like in contact with these helicopter pilots because I'm donating this fuel money. And so they knew, obviously there was hope there, or there was a shot that this guy maybe knows somebody that can. And so then she had some contacts in the air through family friends. And then I have these guys, Zeb, Craig, all these others, probably 5 or so different groups. And if they didn't have somebody, then they knew that all these folks were working together. So they were all talking the whole time, like, if you're not in this area, call somebody else. And so we would just, best thing we could do was pass it along. That's what they were there for. And so we started passing the information along. Hey, yeah, we're in the air. We're going to drop it. Or we delivered some insulin to some folks, oxygen. There was a couple older folks that needed oxygen. Yeah, hey, they got the oxygen, but they didn't want to leave. They're going to stay with their house. That's home. They've been in that home on the side of that mountaintop for years, decades. It was their family home probably before that, So these people weren't leaving, And so all this stuff was happening by Wednesday and Thursday, and it was like, whoa, like I got to grip here real quick because we were, we just had to go to load a truck, and next thing you know, we're over here. We've got helicopter pilots in our back pocket, so we're sending coordinates and oxygen and insulin to these folks, food, doing wellness checks. And so they would message us back, on Instagram and text message and Facebook message, hey, they're good. You can tell them, let them know they're good. We checked on them. They don't want to leave, or they either got them and brought them to safety and evacuated them. So then, Thursday, the Venmo was just crazy, So Friday we loaded a truck every day after that. So Tuesday was 2, Wednesday was 2, and then Thursday was 1, and then Friday was 2. There was 7 trucks. By the end of Friday, we loaded 7 trucks. It was like this huge web that God had put together, and He knew that this is how I'm going to use each one of you, I guess you could say. That was just incredible to watch with the networking and the connections that were made, random folks. That led to so many other things that happened. So.
This is incredible, and I have so many questions for you guys, as I'm sure the listeners do as well. So we're going to take a quick little break, and we will be right back.
Awesome.
So, first of all, thank you. Thank you both so much for being here and sharing what you've shared. It is literally the most remarkable thing to hear these stories and to think that something so grand could take place in a matter of hours. Like when you're speaking about by Monday, there was trucks that were already lined up, that your goal was 1 and it became 7. It reminds me of the story in the Bible when a few loaves of bread and a few pieces of fish fed the thousands. And sorry, I'm out of breath. I've been running around getting all of this stuff situated. But all of that to say, it becomes emotional to think about the way the Holy Spirit has weaved into the hearts of each one of you, and that you would be willing, diligent servants to answer that call. That already the weekend, as things were starting to pick up, you felt that heaviness, and that God was basically preparing your hearts to take on something that you had no clue what it would escalate to. And when I think about your willingness to listen and your willingness to discern those inner guidances, and thinking about the calls that you made, the first call that you made was to your pastor, and thinking about how when we as a body of Christ link arms and actually let the kingdom of God come down to heaven, that we are blessing the world with a love that we understand and sharing that with others who may just have not experienced it yet. So with that being said, through all of the things that happened, in what ways do you guys feel like you felt or witnessed or literally saw God's hand start to weave this tapestry together?
Go first. Yeah, go ahead.
I saw it through Ross first. The first couple of nights he was saying he couldn't sleep. He really couldn't sleep, and it felt like God was kind of stirring his spirit almost. Actually, he was. And then by Monday morning, it was like God laid the task at his feet, and he took it and he went with it. And I think at that point we had really no idea where it was going to go. He just felt like he needed to help. And it's just so wild to look back, because we thought, like you said, we were going to get a few donations and send a truck at the end of Friday. And it really was like God. Like he was like, here's the task. I'm laying it at your feet, and I will provide. I will make it happen. I will give you these connections. And it was just so wild to see him come through and through and through and through. Even when our minds couldn't comprehend what was even happening, he was sustaining, truly.
And even to witness the divinity of your partnership. Like when you think about the way that man was created to be embodied as this container that receives direct guidance from our Creator, and then we were made from that rib, and we are here to receive that protection from that container and be the creative expression. I think about the ways that you showed up on social media. Ross was like that voice and that face that was directing and guiding all of the logistics. And I think about you as the heart that was taking all of this information in and getting it to the appropriate places to make sure that the tenderness of this moment was seen and felt. And from the outside looking in, it's really wild to hear the humility of both of you guys. Like, I can't believe these people reaching out to us and all these things. Like in my head, it made me realize people are always looking for somebody that has the truth and is guided by that truth and is unrelenting in that truth and not waiting for permission, but instead doing what is right. And that's what you guys did. And I think that's why so many of us came to you, because of all of the things that I was seeing and hearing. It was the two of you that I continued to trust and fully want to support, because I knew it was going to get to the right place. And I could feel that your hearts were unshaken by anything other than what was real and what was going to be effective.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, so the middle of the week, it was, we talk about the God connections, the God winks, I guess we could call them. I needed places to go, obviously, with this stuff. Here we are, we got 2 truckloads sitting here on Tuesday, and we have not a clue where they're going. And so I think that's when Rebecca shared this information with a young lady out of Statesville that was working the Operation Airdrop. So, I mean, cars were already lined up in Statesville Airport, dropping stuff off. They were already flying them up there, just anything and everything. Because that's literally the only way you could get up there at that point. And so then, I'm on Facebook. I've got this second cousin that I haven't talked to in 20 some years, probably. We're friends on Facebook, but she's got a family, I got a family. We're second cousins. We're not, so we don't see each other much or talk to each other much. And so I was like, she's over here. She's saying she's volunteering at the Hickory Airport. I shot her a message on Facebook. I'm like, hey, what's up, stranger? You guys taking donations? You taking goods? What's happening? Like, here's the deal. Like, I've got a truckload sitting right here. I don't know where it's going, but I was like, you want it? Like, and she said, yeah. So I think we sent the first couple. Well, let me back up. I'm sorry. The first couple went to West Jefferson. My brother, he and his family live in Boone. They got 4 kids. Their oldest just started at UNCW. So he's over at our house, couple that weekend, I guess it was, and he was supposed to go home, and we're like, dude, you're not going home. Like, it's already flooded. I saw that Friday. I probably shouldn't go home. We're not going to tell him what to do, but we were like, told his parents, we're like, I don't think it's good that he drives home, and so he ended up staying. But so I'm in contact with my brother. He's over in West Jefferson. He works over that way, and so he's been on the ground since day one. He knows exactly what's going on. He sees it. His office kind of turned into a whole meeting area for the town and how they were going to move forward and get a game plan together. And so the connection happened with Kelsey in Statesville. The connection happened with Lindsay, my cousin, in Hickory, and then we had my brother. And so I took the first 2 to Ashe County. But I also knew that, like, you hear things of FEMA, you hear things of Red Cross, you hear all this other stuff. And I was like, I made sure I called my brother up and I was like, look, I don't want this stuff going to FEMA. I don't want this stuff going to Red Cross. It's crazy. This sounds right quick. I know, like, you guys need stuff and you need it now, but, like, I don't want the stories of them going in these warehouses and taking the goods that I want it going straight to. So he gave me an address. He knew this guy that had a warehouse that had opened up his facility. They were taking trucks, delivering in there that was going straight to the people. They were lined up out the door, waiting for trucks to get there. And so we had those 2 delivered Wednesday morning. So they got the first trucks delivered that Wednesday morning. And then Mr. Toby across the street, I mean, I would add him to the list in a heartbeat. He Tuesday, so his truck stayed over there Tuesday again. So I walked back over there Tuesday, and I'm like, where are you going with this stuff, man? Like, and he's like, well, I was gonna go here, Ross, but now I'm I don't know. They're kind of giving some kickback. We understand that they're telling everybody to not come here now or to this place that we were going, and I was like, you need somewhere to go. And so I had Kelsey and Lindsay in a group chat because there was 2 airports. That was 2 main places. I knew that if anybody needed it, they could go there. Helicopters would take it out. And so the next couple trucks, I think we lined him up with Cornerstone Church with Pastor Reggie in Boone. Reggie's been athletics chaplain for years. He's up there when I was there. And so I've known he and his family for many years. And so another contact, April, is a good family friend of ours. She's close with my brother and her family. I said, I called her up. I said, look, I got trucks. Like, can we come to you? What do you need? Like, and she's like, this is what we need. And so that was another connection. So Cornerstone Summit in Boone, we took them a couple loads. And so Tom Toby, he needed a place to go. And I said, I called Jordan. He's like, send him to Boone. And so I sent that one to Boone. So he showed up in Boone and he took his other trailer. He had like a 20-foot box trailer that he filled up with more goods. And so he took that one to Jefferson to the other warehouse. And so I've got a few good ones. I've got the 2 girls at the airport. I've got Tom Toby. I can trust this guy. He's a firefighter from back in the day. My godfather, he's a retired firefighter. I knew these were good people. That's like a brotherhood, that they know what's going on. They know how to, they're there to help. They're ready to go. And so then somebody reached out to me from up there and said, look, like, we need one in Avery County. I couldn't get there, but we need help. And so we were able to get some helicopter stuff up there in that area. And as soon as 105 opened, I got word of that. And a buddy of mine up there hit me up and he said, hey, my brother-in-law is working at the Y up in Avery County, and they're taking in donations. I said, give me his contact. So that added to another one. And then we had folks in the office that had family members that lived down around the Asheville area. And that's when things started to really get kind of scary and weird, but because the things that I was hearing were just unimaginable. They're walking out of their houses, and there's people in their yard. They don't know who they are. They are had gotten washed down the river, the flood, whatever. I mean, and it's just terrifying. And so all these connections started happening through social media. Me walking across the street, introducing myself to Mr. Tom. Every single one of those people, we ended up doing so much more things with together. So they would call me and say, "Hey Ross, do you have somebody's asking where they can take a truck. They're coming in from Michigan, or they're coming in from New York State." And so we just started using all these connections, and it was just amazing. God was working. I mean, he was doing his thing 100 miles an hour through that office, and through our connections. And I got a call. I think the biggest God wink to me was a story that happened. It was that Wednesday. I got a call. I called up the Critcher brothers, and I said, "Hey, Trevor and John," I said, "Who you got coming tomorrow?" And he said, "Well, he's matter of fact, he's sitting right here beside me. He said he knows your family." And I'm like, "Oh God, like, who is this?" And I said, "Well, who is it?" And he said, "He'll see you in the morning." That was it. Hung up. 2 minutes go by. I got a phone call, and it was this guy, and it says Gary, Foothill Trans. It was a driver that had gotten my phone number probably 7 years ago, I guess, through some family members, and he knew what I did, and he was a trucker and he needed a load, so he was calling me to see if I could help him with backhauls, which means he would go deliver a load to the Northeast, and he'd need to get back to North Carolina with a load. So he would call me every time. So long story short, fast forward, 7 years, I talked to this gentleman I've never met in my life. I've talked to him at least once a month. Then it was every other week or whatever. Tuesday morning or that Monday night, Gary calls me, and I'm like, "What in the world does he want?" He said, it was that voice, it was that voice from Jonesville, North Carolina. It was, "Ross, I'll see you in the morning." I knew that voice right away. And I was like, "You got to be kidding me." I was like, "I can't even explain this to anybody. Like, I cannot." 7 years ago, it was like God knew he was going to put Gary in my life 7 years down the road. And he was going to use him in the middle of this storm that we had not even met each other. We've talked on the phone. He knows about my family. I know about his family. He lost a daughter last year. His grandkids are living with him. This guy has gone back on the road. He retired and then didn't tell me that he got back in the truck and gone to work with my customer now. And so he showed up Wednesday morning, and I met him at his door. I met the man at his truck door, and I said, we just hugged each other. Like, we had known each other for all these years, and we just hugged each other, and we're like, I knew you were going to show up one day, I just didn't know when, and so he was there, man, and it was like, golly, like, God's got a sense of humor. He works in mysterious ways. You always hear he works in mysterious ways, and here was Gary, like, picking up a load for free, going up here full of goods to Western North Carolina for us. And so he came back and picked up a few, and I just couldn't believe that. Like, it was like God knew when we met on the phone 7 years ago that he was going to use Gary 2 weeks ago to come down here and use his truck and trailer to go take goods to Western North Carolina. And so that was like the start of it right there. That from Gary on, it was like one after the other. God was like, "I told you so. I told you so. I told you so." And for me personally, dealing with things in my life, like, I needed that. Like, I needed the reassurance. I knew by Wednesday I had, like, my faith in humanity was restored 100%. But also my faith in God was restored 100%. And, things happened, and it was like it snowballed, and it was like him just reminding me again that, like, I got you, dude. Like, I told you this all this time. I got you. Like, it just wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready for you yet. Like, I knew I was going to use you this week. Yes, I probably had something to do with this storm, but I'm doing it. It's like everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I've always said that. I've always believed that. And so it just continued to snowball. These connections were coming in. We're helping all these people in different ways now. And by Friday, like we got 7 trucks out, and people are again finding out what we're doing. They're like, we got a truckload coming from New York State. We got a truckload coming from Michigan. Where can we take it? And so I would use my connections to load that truck and get it unloaded at Hickory Airport or state. We sent them all over. I mean, there wasn't just our 7 trucks in that first week. There was another handful that went elsewhere that I used and helped these people get delivered. Because one, they didn't know if the roads were open. They didn't know, they were just loading a truck, hoping it could go somewhere that needed it. And then by that Friday, we had over like $20,000 in the Venmo. And so I started, finally getting helicopter response back, and we're sending money to these folks, and Venmo locks me up, so they didn't know what I was doing with all this money. But so I tried to keep it in Venmo, you got to put the little message of what you're, sending. So I just put, it's like the helicopter emoji and the fuel emoji. I'm like, what else are we doing? And so, fought with them all weekend trying to get the money released. But I mean, we were sending that. And then at that point it was like Wilmington Fire Department was up there. Wrightsville Beach Ocean Rescue was up there. So we were then using these guys. We would send them money to feed their first responders that they were working with. We got a picture on that Sunday after church, and it was the Wilmington Fire Department was up there with the Asheville guys at the fire department. They had gone and bought them a steak dinner, to grill out on the propane grill out in front of the firehouse. And I got a group picture being like, man, thank you. And that just that was made my entire week right there. That one thing, I knew that man, this is awesome. These guys and gals have been up there busting their tails. They've seen more than they want to see at this point. And so, yeah, that first week it was God had me in a chokehold, and he knew what he was doing with me. And I just, we weren't necessarily ready, I guess, but we knew we were called to step up to the plate, and people trusted us. Thank goodness.
I don't think we knew anything going into it other than he just laid the task, and then it started here and went here. And during the midst of it, it was we just had to figure it out along the way, because we truly, when we went out on Monday, didn't know. And it just, God was so present, and yes, I think he restored a lot of people's faith in humanity. It's just so wonderful how he can do 2 things at once. So he was restoring people's faith, but he also was so desperate to help his people who were hurting. And that was the main thing that we saw was he used his servants to complete his task of helping his people, which was, I think, his main goal, where his people were hurting and they needed help.
Yes. And you guys provided that along with all of these arms that you linked up with. And it's the wildest thing. My brother now lives in Maui. He had a lot of friends that lived in Maui when the fires happened. Yeah. And then when we're originally from Boone. And so we have these close connections in these 2 places that were devastated in different ways. Opposite ways. One was on fire, the other was underwater. And I think that's really interesting. I think it's the dichotomy of what we're living in right now. But what was so beautiful is what you mentioned. There's, horrible, tragic loss. It's hard to really talk about it without getting emotional. I heard a story about this one lady who lost her parents and her nephew. And as he was floating away, he was like, Jesus, please save me. And for people that are not believers, I think it can be hard to be why would God let something like this happen? For those of us who are believers, I have to remind myself, when we take our last breath, we enter the arms of our Creator. And so even though that split second is scary or it's heartbreaking for those of us that are left behind, it's actually the greatest victory. you know? And so to be used as instruments on this planet to show people the upside down or right side up way of living, depending on how you look at it, is really to say we live in a broken world. That was the choice we made when we ate the forbidden fruit that gives us the knowledge of good and evil. So every day we're facing evil, but every day we also can unlock good. And I feel like you guys, in the face of evil, unlocked good. And we're going to have to tie this one up here in a second, and we can kind of like dive into this the next go around. But I just speak on behalf of so many in saying that I just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Because of what you provided, it not only validated what so many of us were feeling, but it gave us an outlet to take action and to make a difference. And never once did all of the provision that God was providing you guys become about you. It was always, how can we make this more? How can we expand it deeper? How can we grow it further? And I can't help but think that in a world that literally seems to be decaying, that our God is even transforming that decay to build up light through the darkness. And so in this next kind of segment, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how this has personally transformed each one of your lives in the way that you show up as husband and wife and mom and dad and in the workplace and friends and family members. And in the way that it has maybe made, you know, the kingdom of heaven coming to earth even that much more real for you. And just stories perhaps that you have that will stick with you forever, that have impacted your life. So we'll be right back.
I actually was telling my friends this the other day. During the midst of all the work we were doing for Western North Carolina, it got really chaotic at one point, and 90% of me was like, okay, shove that in the back of your mind, because these people are suffering. Like, his people are like in desperate need of help. And then like the 10% of me that was selfish was like praying one afternoon, and I'm like, God, I like my life, how it is. Like, I like my quiet little bubble at home, and there's not a lot of chaos. I'm just taking care of the kids, and I'm comfortable, and I like it that way. And this is like really chaotic, and there's a lot going on that I feel like I'm too small to be a part of, and I think potentially scared to be a part of. And I just felt like he was like, I hear you, but my people are hurting, so go. Like, I'm sending you. I've given you a time of rest, and now it's time to go. And that's where it really changed for me, to where like that 10% that I was still being selfish, I had to die to self and say, you know, this isn't about me. This is about him and glorifying his kingdom. And that's like really my only goal in life, is to glorify his kingdom, to be a good wife and a good mom. So yeah, I think that's how it's changed me.
And that's so honest. Like, thank you for being that honest, because these things are so noble, and it would be really easy to hide behind the mask of like, oh, it was nothing and da-da-da. And you see people do that all the time. But like, we are people living hard lives ourselves in, you know, within, the perspective of things, and we still want comfort and consistency and things of that nature. And so to say that 10% of you is being human, and then that you were able to recognize that, and God gave you the strength to overcome that, and now realize that in those moments when you're facing obstacles that feel so much bigger than you, that you have a helper, and that it doesn't have to be your strength. How beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to say that first week was, I think we were just walking by each other. I mean, we were in the house, we came home, and at that point, like the middle of the week, those first 7 days, our phones were ringing, getting messages. They were dinging till 1 a.m. I mean, people were literally, that's when like things were turning. That's when things were changing. Needs were changing, requests. People were finding our numbers and calling us and texting us and messaging us, which was great. we like I
we
said,
were like, please wake us up.
we want to help how we can at this point. It's all, the tables have turned. Like, this party is turning, like that first few days, because we were just, at that point, we were like just on our phones walking by each other, just not even like it's almost like we didn't even hug each other for like a few days. Like, we were like, all right, dude, bring it back, like bring it in, like we need each other, like this is getting crazy. So at that point I had handed her off, the load of the needs list and things like that. It's God was working, man. We were just, it was incredible. People kept, at work, like by Thursday, I'm kind of getting worn down, and people are, coworkers are coming over. Are you okay? Like, are you getting rest? Like, and then I would start to be like, you know what? I am pretty exhausted. And it's like, I would catch myself and I'd be like, I can't even complain about being tired right now. Like, yeah, I haven't slept, but like, people are literally sleeping on the mud floors of their homes. There's families and kids that are, that Wednesday there was, where was it again? I can't remember. It was 200 kids were sitting in an elementary school and didn't know where their parents were. And I think that's when it really messed me up. Because I was like, all right, like the dad in me now is like, it's double time now. And so Pastor Mike and Richie, they were coming by, checking in on us, seeing what we needed. Because again, they were trying to, it's like, I was ready to move, and I know everybody else needed to kind of go in their process and do their things. But like, if you know me, like I ain't got the patience of anything. So I was ready to go. And so, that's when I just started calling people, putting it out there. And so, everybody was like, oh my God, isn't this awesome? Like, this is so crazy. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, you know what? I was like, and I tell them every time, I'm like, I just be walking the other direction. Well, if you ain't a believer after this, I don't know how else to prove it, because
walking and talking,
not
stopping.
Yeah. It's literally what we were doing. We were hauling pallets out there and packing pallets and everything else. And it was just like something that, I was like, golly, if you were sitting back and watching this right now from the outside, you don't know half of what's going on behind the scenes, but it's enough for you to know, like, he is working. He has got, I'm looking around and I've got 100 coworkers out here running out to unload trucks together, pack pallets together, pack boxes, coworkers, significant others are coming in at that point. And then, I was like, we're getting close to the end of the week. And I think the scariest thing for me was I was so scared that like this was going to stop. And I just knew that like we couldn't stop because so many people at that point were like, all right, now we're carrying a load, because like everybody knows that what we're doing, everybody knows that we're the ones that like have the connections. So they're depending on us to get it to the right people, to figure out a way to get this done and to help these people. And so, we were carrying a load there for a while, and I just was so afraid that like people were going to forget, and so that Friday, sorry, certain things are coming back, and I'm remembering
It's a lot.
So it was that Friday. I was on a phone call in the back, like talking to somebody about something. Coworker comes up to me. He's like, hey, Richie's here from Port City. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I get off the phone call, and here comes Richie walking down the sidewalk. And I'm like, he's got to be coming with something good for me. Like, I need him. I need them. I need somebody else to help me right now. Like, I need the church. And so Richie said, we're in. And I think I was so busy at that time that I didn't realize like what that meant. Like, thousands of people, they go to this church and they see what we're doing. Pastor Mike saw what we were doing. Richie saw what we were doing. And I get it, man. I grew up in a church that was, it was larger, and they had to, had to do things the right way. They had people that were depending on them to do the right thing too.
Yeah.
And so, that's just how it went. Richie said, we got you. We're ready. Like, let's do this thing. I called Finn at Biggers, and I said, I need 10 pallets and I need 10 pumpkin boxes sitting in the front door of Port City Church on Sunday morning. And Richie said, I got a truck. I'll go buy that right now. And so Richie had already gone and rented a U-Haul truck and gone by Spins and picked up 10 boxes and 10 pallets. And Sunday morning we got out there and people were coming in by the carload, man. It was awesome. And so I was like, dude, this is, I mean, we're both beat at this point. We're worn down, but I was like, we got to go. Like we got to go Sunday. We got to be there. I just want to go and thank these people and hug them and then tell them thank you, you know?
Yes.
And so I knew once Richie came and brought me that news, I was like, it's on. Like we're good. We're going to run this thing out another few days. So Saturday came, people were dropping stuff off at the office. We weren't even there. So, and then Sunday morning, man, people showed out, man. We had, we packed every box there was, between the 9 and the 11 o'clock. And it was just incredible, man. We were just sitting there helping people and watching kids unload and bring all these goods out. And, I just think that like he knew all along that he wanted to use us, you know, and we're always sitting ready, you know, it's like we're on standby. But again, you know, before this happened, it's like, yeah, you know, we're in this thing, you know, we're God's got our back and this and that. But it was like, he had me by the throat, man. And it's what I needed, honestly, you know, it's what I needed. I needed that reminder because like you said, it's like, the world we live in right now, you know, and, you know, for our babies to be raised in this world, it's like, what do we do to make sure that, you know, that we teach them the right way, that we teach them to do this and things like this to help our neighbors first, you know, you're from up there, you know how it goes. That's how we were raised. We were raised to help our neighbors first. And so it was just incredible to hear the stories that talk about, you know, folks from down here that were going up there. Judd was coming back telling me stories, you know, the work that he and Aaron had gone up there and done. And he's like, man, we were crawling across these rivers with waters on our backs, and we get over there, and he said we'd get over there, and you know, half the trailer's gone that they lived in, and they're standing on their front porch, and we're trying to give them waters, and they're like, nah, I mean, you need to go down there and check on such and such. We're good. And I'm like, golly, dude. And it's like, he's like, I stood there and I'm just like, dude, just take the water. He's like, just take the water, dude. Just take the water. And I was like, nah, man, like I'm good. Go help my neighbors. And, I mean, it's just, yeah, it was just incredible. And so, you know, he just, another reminder that Friday, it was the story with Richie coming and saying, you know, the church has got your back, you know. It's like, sorry, it took us a few days, but man, we're here, we're ready. And so we loaded up probably 2 or 3, maybe 4, including the Leland campus. They came with 2 truckloads. So, I mean, it was another 3 box truckloads. So between Leland campus and Wilmington, I bet you it was another truck and a half for sure of a full blown, 2 trucks. But it was Friday was when he really had me, because Friday I was looking through videos and stuff that people were sending me again, and text messages, just going back through and looking at stuff that had happened the first week, because between, you know, doing that all day and coming home and trying to still be a dad and still be a mom and husband and wife to each other, it's still just like coming in, like you can't keep up with it.
Yes.
And so there was this shot that Jonathan had put up. He was one of the guys flying with Zeb, the gentleman from Wilmington, and he had taken this shot and he had put it up on a story earlier in the week, and I had like screen recorded. I was like, I could not believe it. And it was this shot of this cross that's up on this mountainside. And it was this humongous white cross. And it was like the calm after the storm. It was sunny out. They were flying in on a search and rescue, or flying out. I'm not sure which one, but and it was just this shot of this cross on this mountainside. And they were just flying by it. And it was just like, I saw that thing, and it's like that moment of watching this video had brought me peace, you know? I just knew, like, it was like a calmness, like, all right, like you're 100 miles an hour. You need to just take a moment, slow down. And it's like, you know, just pray, like, pray that people will continue to support us, that they'll continue to trust us, and that they won't forget. I mean, we knew that storm was coming in Florida, and we both were like, here we go. Next week, they're not even going to be talking about North Carolina anymore. You know, it's all going to be, and which is, you know, our hearts and prayers go out to Florida. You know, they've gotten banged up a few times down in the Gulf, but I go back to that video and I'm like, all right, so I started throwing a reel together just to kind of show people clips of stuff that I was getting sent from trucks being unloaded, people volunteering and unloading. It was just so cool to see, because it wasn't just us. It was the people that lived there, up there, that like were coming into these hubs and helping unpack stuff and hand stuff out. And like people lived there that were trying to volunteer up there. Like, and so it was just amazing to me. And so I had this clip in my mind. And so I had thrown it on this reel that I'd made on Friday to show kind of the work that had been done that week so everybody can kind of see. And I was just trying to be as transparent as I could too, because people were sending me thousands of dollars and they didn't know me from nothing. And I just wanted to be honest about our work. You know, that's why I did the videos every day. That's why I was like, truck number 7, here we are Friday. And then next thing you know, it's truck number 14 when it's all said and done with. But so I had thrown that clip on that reel Friday morning. That afternoon, I had an issue. We had a truckload like that afternoon. I knew it wasn't going to make it to Statesville or Hickory or anywhere else like before the cutoff for the day. And I'm like, all right, so backtrack till about lunchtime. Zeb's wife texts me, and she's got me in this text message with a National Guard member from Swannanoa area.
Wow. Who got decimated, right?
Flattened.
Because we have friends and that we're close with in Swannanoa.
Yeah.
And apparently it was just like,
yeah.
probably got some
Yeah.
of the worst of it.
It was the worst. It was probably
Yeah.
the worst for sure. And
Yeah.
so we had obviously heard about it all week, but we didn't know if we could get there. We couldn't get there. And everybody's like, you got to go to Swannanoa. You got to go to Swannanoa. Got Flat Rock. I was like, look, I promise you, like we had all these people wanting our help, but it was like, we've got to just make sure we do it right. My drivers have to be safe. Obviously, we got to make sure, you know, the roads are safe too. Because there was looting going on trucks, believe it or not. There was
so
truck
bad.
drivers that were getting held hostage at truck stops and, you know, getting shot up like in the middle of a storm. I mean, if it wasn't already bad enough. And so anyways, so she had me, and this was about Friday lunchtime. So I made that reel Friday morning, didn't know where that clip was from. I just saw it on this video. I screen recorded it, right? Lunchtime comes around. Carrie texts me with a gentleman from the National Guard from Swannanoa. He's like, I'm at this warehouse. He's like, and he's asking, she's tying me in because she needs groups on the ground to help this guy out to disperse of this product, right? Because a lot of people up there either unfortunately missing still, they've been washed out, their whole house is gone, their property is just gone. It's all changed. Like the landscape itself had literally changed. And so I had Facebook connections that I reached out to, and then within 2 hours there was 3 different groups that showed up at this guy's doorstep for the ATVs, side-by-sides, 4-wheelers. And so they were helping them get this product out. And so I was like, you know what? It got to be about 3:00. I knew I wasn't going to make it that day. And I said, hey man, I was like, kind of random here, but we're loading up trucks. Like, I was like, can you get a truck up to you? Like, will a truck make it up there safe on a road? Like, is it open? He said, we unloaded 2 this morning. I was like, you want another one? And so that right there happened. And it was like, all right, I knew I wasn't going to make it to States or Hickory. I needed something else to happen. Time was ticking. You know, I'm running out of time today. And so he's like, yes, sir. That was 3:00. Got a BOL printed with his address on it. The truck delivered up there to Swannanoa the next morning. And so about 5:00 rolled around, and I'm like, all right, Swannanoa, boom, we hit it. All right, we finally got there. And then I said, I just kept thinking about this clip of this cross on this mountainside. And I hit Jonathan up and I said, hey man, I was like, random question. I was like, this video you took and put on your story of the cross, where was that? Like, where were y'all? He goes, that was a search and rescue in Swannanoa. And I was like, all right. I was like, all right. So I made that reel, put the clip in there. Lunchtime come around. Carrie put me on with this guy in Swannanoa, this National Guard. Didn't know where that truck was going to go. It went to Swannanoa. Come to find out, it was like all in that pack. And it was just, I kept getting these reminders. Like, it was like these God winks. And I kept getting reminders, like, just, you know, it's all going to be okay, dude. Like, everybody's going to be good. We're going to help, you know, it's like, we couldn't do enough quick enough. And that was the sad part for me, I think. Because, you know, and there was, I still had friends that weren't accounted for till about Wednesday, you know? So it was just like, I think just the emotions of not sleeping, not eating, you know, and just being just worried and concerned about what the next day was going to carry. And And then, yeah, so then that Friday we ended up loading up 2 more trucks and finished the week off at 7. And it was incredible. And then, the next week it just carried on. I was so afraid it was going to stop, but people just kept showing up, and prayers were getting answered, and connections were still being made, and just incredible stuff was happening. So.
Well, this is, we're coming down towards the final segments. And I think as we head into this next section, I think the big question is, what now? Where do we go? What do we do? And how do we keep, just like your hat says, North Carolina strong? Okay, so man, we have really covered it all. And I feel like you guys have to come back on, because I'm sure in the coming weeks and months, people are going to have questions and more things are going to occur. I know personally for Emotion, we still have a bunch of financial donations that we are wanting to still, provide. And I don't know if there is an opportunity to hear from families that are deeply in need, that, so many didn't have flood insurance. That's really not a thing in the mountains. So I guess my biggest question at this point is, through everything that you've learned, all the connections that you've made, everything that you've seen and heard, where do we go from here?
Should I tell them about the nonprofit?
Yeah.
The girl that we linked up with, that God led us to, her name's Kelsey. She was doing all of the donations out of Statesville. She had like an Amazon wish list, and she we're sending donations places where they didn't have road access. Wow. Anyways, it became so huge that she started a nonprofit, and she asked us to be a part of it. Wow. So that we can continue the work through the nonprofit and helping people. And it won't just be Western North Carolina. I mean, we'll continue our work there until they no longer need us, but just continuing with disaster relief. So we can send you in the right place.
That gives me full body chills. Are you able to say what the nonprofit is called, or how listeners can get involved?
It's called Rebel with a Cause.
Okay.
It's new, but she is getting that thing up and running. You'll have to have her on your podcast.
Yeah.
And let her tell you her story of like what she did with Western North Carolina, how we linked up, and now we're a team.
Wow.
Okay.
And so all the donations, a lot of them went to you, because we just had a jar that people would put cash in, or we just told them to Venmo Ross. Sure. And that was when the money was being needed immediately. But then we have all of our donation classes, and still all of that cash. And people did the donations that didn't even come to class. I mean, we have people that did $250. There was $1,000 option. So, I mean, it's amazing, like you said, how much the community just wanted to step up. And so is that something that we could donate to still, or is it best to, okay.
She texted us earlier, and I'll let her confirm the amounts, but they were 2 significant amounts today. Thousands of dollars.
Wow.
I guess I'll say that, but it's there. Yeah, it's rocking already for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So the fuel, that was the goal of the fuel. We ended up doing. We knew of some families that had lost everything, so we were able to Venmo them funds. And then we had there was a guy I met through Kelsey that I needed a load to go somewhere. I didn't know where it was going, and she set me up with a pastor up in right outside of Asheville and Weaverville, I believe it was there. And I'm sorry, no, Weaverville was the other two, the cargo container. Gosh, I'm trying to remember that. It was so many different towns. But it was up in the Asheville area, and the pastor, she's like, yeah, let me give you Steve's number. Pastor Steve. I'm like, Pastor Steve, sure. Was he a church? Like, what church is he at? This and that. So that's all. She sent the contact, and it said Pastor Steve on it. So I called Pastor Steve, and this guy answers, and I was like, he barely had cell service. So long story short, we ended up getting him a truck up there, right? And this was another one of those stories. Kelsey hits me up. It was like 11 o'clock. The truck showed up there. And I guess when they opened up the doors, the guy had sent Pastor a picture, right, of like what's on it. Well, in the very back of it, right before, I mean, this is like, as we're loading the last couple of pallets of this truck, this guy shows up with probably 6 generators, brand new.
Whoa.
Dude went
Like
to.
they're about to close.
Dude
the
went
truck
to
door.
Tractor Supply, probably dropped $5 or $6 grand out of his pocket, brought 5, 6, 7 generators. And so we split them up between the next few loads. So we sent like a handful up there. Next load got some, but the pastor's dad was on medical needs. Like it was getting down to it, and he needed. I'm not sure, if it was his ventilator or something. He needed power.
Probably, yeah.
So I get Kelsey's like, dude, you aren't gonna believe this. Like the pastor is sobbing over here to me. He's asking if he can take a generator, and I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? He said his dad he has a medical condition. He needs this generator now. Like he said, I'm like, dude, give the guy a generator, please. Like,
Yes.
take it off the
Full
truck.
body chills.
Yeah, take
Yeah.
it to him. And I said, what's going on? And so she told me, and I'm like, of course. Like he welcomed us with a load like last minute. I mean, we call this guy out of nowhere, and he's like, sure, bring it on. And so he sent us to a secured warehouse, and the next thing you know, we're saving his dad with a generator that was needed that nobody knew about.
That almost didn't even make the
Didn't
truck.
even just
Yeah,
barely
they
made
were
it. Weren't even going to be
closing.
on there. We were literally stacking up the last pallet on there, and that guy pulled up and we were like, dude, let's throw some on this one for sure.
That's another God wink. That's the things.
But what led me to Pastor Steve was, he hits me up middle of that next week and was like, hey, we need chainsaws. Like we need there's everybody wants to come up there and self-deploy with chainsaws, but like we actually need chainsaws. We need fuel. We need everything to go with it. And so we sent him some Venmo. He went and bought $1,000 worth of chainsaws and everything he needed to go with it. So then we had friends of mine from back home that had landscaping crews that had been out there since day one repairing people's driveways out of their pocket. I finally got a hold of a gentleman you probably know too, but he calls me up. I just shot him a text, a couple of days in. I said, hey man, give me a call when you can. I know you're busy, because I had heard from some other friends what he was doing too. But and so. He called me up, and I said, what's really going on, man? I know you're going to tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And I said, are people showing up, trying to get paid already on day 4? Like, to what? He's like, well, you know how it is up here. Like, that lasted a day, maybe,
Wow.
That got run off real quick, but he said, man, we just been out here repairing people's driveways. Because people don't realize, like, outside of Boone and outside of Asheville, these small towns, you've got a 2-lane road that runs along a creek.
Yep.
And there's a wooden bridge that goes over to a trailer home that's on the other side of the creek. And so all that was gone. And so they're out there busting their tails. And he said, man, I tell you what, he said, it has been pretty cool, to help everybody. He said, obviously we've been doing as much as we can, going and trying to hit the people that we know and the customers that we know to try and help them. And, but he was saying, he said, man, I got an order of, gravel and mulch and everything else last week. I said about $100,000 worth of supplies that is probably in the Watauga River now,
Oh,
and,
man.
they don't have insurance on that kind of
Yep.
stuff. And like, so here's this guy, he just lost 6 figures of materials last 4 days ago. And he's out there, with tractors and everything else doing his thing to help everybody get back on their feet. But that is just a reminder, like, that's just how it is up there,
Yep.
and that's what I try to like tell people, I hope I don't want that part to change. Like, that's the part I want to be able to carry on with this thing, is everybody just continues to act like this towards each other.
Yes.
And to help each other and to help their neighbors. We just people were reaching out with needs. We did livestock feed and hay. That was a random one that we got. Ended up doing much more with that young lady. She told me in a text message later that same night. I kept getting the same snippet of a livestock need, right? It was like the same. It was like a mother and daughter, and I think Rebecca was like, be careful. Like I'd seen where that wasn't true, or it was used as, people were just throwing stuff on the internet. And so I was like, I'll call it. I called this lady. She didn't answer the first time. I called her mom's number. She didn't answer. I called the lady again, and she answered on like the third ring. And I said, hey, I see your post here. I was like, here's what I'm doing, and she's like, I can't take your money. I'm like, that's not, I didn't ask you anything. The only thing I asked you for was for your Venmo. I was like, this is what it's for. What do you need? And she's like, we need livestock feed. We need hay. And because there was livestock up in like Avery County and those areas that were up further that were either, they're standing on a little island and, on their farmland now that had gotten washed out and stuff. And they didn't have anything to feed them with or nothing. And so we ended up sending money for hay and livestock. And I had a customer that I run hay for that I think he was able to help too. I got him involved. So again, just coming out of the woodworks on this stuff. I'm glad that, because by that time it was like the private helicopters like had all kind of like backed out a little bit because people were able to make roads, you were able to get to certain areas, and so they weren't needed as much. They were still flying in goods and stuff to remote areas, but so I still had funds there and that I was able to use elsewhere, which was pretty awesome. So but we both know, everybody knows that it's going to be a long term, and we feel like that between Kelsey and Rebecca, they can do some incredible work. They already have, and you should definitely share about what's taken place over the past week with, your events here too. And
yeah, we're kind of leading into more like specific need projects, and like monetary donations, because supplies are they're overwhelmed right now. So we did a Halloween donation drive for the little kids up there just to give them a sense of normalcy.
Yes.
And I was just planning to get like maybe 40 or 50 costumes, and I was like, I'll just ship them. We found a really sweet lady out in Hendersonville, North Carolina, who runs a church, and she's going to take them and pass them out. But probably 2 days in, I was like, I can't ship this much stuff. We have like 268 costumes.
Rebecca, are you kidding me?
And we've made like 400 little goodie bags full of candy, toys. Yeah,
our kitchen is a Halloween workshop right now. Costumes and candy bags.
Right in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are doing the Halloween project. We have a project or an event Saturday for OT, speech, and PT, receiving kids out in Western North Carolina. Our son receives services like that. So we know that, you could put a pause on it because a disaster happened, but just the importance of these kids do need these things, and how detrimental it is for them to miss sessions because it's their livelihood.
Yes.
So we're raising funds for that.
Where is that event?
It's at Three Friends Play Dates.
Okay.
And it's with Kids Collective Co. And then we have some Tate's speech therapist is coming in. She owns her own practice, Rooted, and then an OT, play therapist, and a PT, just to kind of raise awareness in that area.
Yes.
And then we're working on a project for, I want to have it out before like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, where people are going to be buying on Amazon, Target, Walmart for Christmas.
Yep.
And kind of shift that over to local businesses.
That's awesome.
Where they can spend their money there.
In Western North Carolina.
In Western North Carolina. Yes, of course.
So
and
local
then,
businesses to help them kind of
yeah.
get a jump start back to opening up.
And then some Christmas stuff. We're just kind of keeping the creative juices flowing of how we can really help them in a way that is going to serve everybody in the way that they need it most. So, yeah, that's the next move for now.
That's the next move. Okay, so how do you, it's Rebel or Revel?
Revel.
Okay.
Revell. It's Kelsey's last name.
Oh, cool.
Revel with a cause.
That is so cool.
She's awesome. And that would be a whole separate podcast of what she's done and what she's created and asked us to be a part of.
So special. And is there a website for that or like an Instagram handle?
Yeah.
Okay.
She, you can share all of that.
Okay. Perfect. So anyone listening that wants to do the next kind of steps, it sounds like with Western North Carolina, because so many territories were hit, this is going to be a thing that we can continue to provide help and support with, especially through the holidays. And my mom has a friend that lost her house and both her cars, and didn't have a ton of money as is, and is now relocating with her parents. My uncle, who has Parkinson's, he got COVID during all of this, but he thankfully lives on top of a mountain, so he was like without power and things of that nature. But we were like super nervous for him. So when the roads opened up, my mom went, and her office flooded, and they lost power, and a couple of other family members. But we feel like among the blessed ones because we literally know people that lost family members, homes, cars, everything. And so when we are talking about these things, like, you guys know better than anybody the loss and the magnitude of that hurt. But same as what my brother witnessed in Maui, there is a sense of community. There is a sense of care and of connection. And I was looking at my friends from Boone, like posting stuff, who didn't even necessarily know you guys but were being impacted by the things that you had been doing. And it feels like the mountains and the coast were always similar but separate, and now we feel like this united state. And it just goes to show, these media outlets and these big corporations and politics and all of that, they benefit from dividing us. And in certain ways, like, we are going to have different opinions, but when I walk outside this door and I smile at somebody, no matter what skin color they have or political view they have or color of their hair or piercings or tattoos or not, or all of the things that we on, I feel like TV are told is so divisive and whatever, like, I see unity. And when these huge disruptions happen and with it feels like Mother Nature getting more turbulent, I feel like these things may become a little more common. The looting and things like that will happen. I remember my grandparents were in Hurricane Katrina and lost everything and kind of experienced that. But it's such a small drop in the bucket because, like you said, that stuff gets sniffed out and pushed away.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because God provided again with that, where my brother-in-law, he does ops for the National Guard, and he kind of gave us the heads up before the media knew about the looting and everything. He was like, hey, you need to be careful. Also, they're not allowing people in to Western North Carolina if you're not military or emergency personnel. So if you need to get the trucks in, call me and I'll line you up with escort.
Yes.
So it's just like there were so many ways that the enemy was trying to distract or stop or, do what he does best. And God was just so much bigger every single time. He provided everything with a solution.
She had to remind me that every day, just about, because
Stay focused.
I wouldn't call it attacked, but it was like, you're not making sense right now. Like the stuff I'm putting out is all like, either stuff we'd hear from our brother-in-law or people on the ground literally that lived there so it was confusing to me because I'm like, why are you trying to come at me? Like we're just trying to help, and of course, you get, everybody's frustrated. Like that first few days, everybody was mad because they didn't feel like the right people were not showing up quick enough. Right. When those people were actually there doing other things, not, what they're commanded to do, like our brother-in-law, which a lot of people don't know. They just assume that they didn't come to help, which they were there. They were just helping in other ways. Search and recovery.
They were waiting on orders.
Yeah, and they're waiting on orders, so they're doing search and recovery. So they're there recovering bodies. They're not. Other things were happening that were super heavy. But it's like I said before. It's like people are over here, they're coming at me, they're unfriending me, unfollowing me, whatever, and that's cool and all because like I realize that like there's people without homes, like there's people. We're trying to do so much greater work, and I think she did a good job of reminding me, don't post that on your story or don't post your frustrations or don't let's just
it opens it up to like a whole thing of distraction and
she's right.
God needed him to be focused on the task, not on arguing with people, not on political views, not on
Yep.
focus on the task. God's people were hurting,
Yep.
and that's where our priority was. But again, the enemy will try and distract you. If you are doing good work, distraction is one of his main
Yes.
tools he
the
uses.
devil is always
Yeah.
he's ready when you're doing the right. He's ready to for you to do the wrong, and you know, things just kept continuing to happen. It was you know, last weekend it was got a voicemail like that Saturday night that it was, you know, there was families that were FEMA did a wellness check on that area, that Bat Cave area is what they call it, right outside of Swannanoa. It's just kind of a little hole up there, and families were up there sleeping on their floors, on towels, like
Yep.
mud floors that the water had receded. Were sleeping on mud floors that were scared to ask for help. That were a Hispanic working community up there that you know, and they were just afraid that they would get in trouble or whatever it was. And so that was probably the next high gear for me, because I'm like, I can't imagine these kids are
Yep.
sleeping on the freaking floor, you know, on
cold,
towels. It's
too.
cold now.
Yep.
And so I'm calling everybody, and I was like, you know, we're not getting an answer. The young lady who I messaged me randomly on Facebook, we had done some other connecting together through other outlets, and she was the one who told me about this. And I was like, have you got a connection yet? Like, what's the lady's number? Still waiting. You know, they don't have good service up there. So it was like, Monday came around, and I had already sent this information to my helicopter pilots, be like, dude, we got to get some beds out there. We got to get something. Like, can't get there, can't access it by road yet. Access opened up like yesterday to this area for the first time, and it's 2.5 weeks later. And so that Monday, I was like, I'm going to Facebook. You know, it's been good to me so far for 2 weeks. I've been able to get the help we need, and by the people sharing it and everything else, making it public. So I put something up about this area up there and them needing cots or beds, and is anybody in that area that I can talk to? I need to talk to somebody. Can't be that big of an area, right? And so Edneyville was the name of the town. So I put it out there, and next thing you know, this dude comments on it and says, hey, I live here. Like, what can I help you with? Like, what do you need? I said, I just shot you a message. I said, call me. Here's my number. Dude calls me. He's just a good old boy, owned apple orchard up there. And he said, man, I tell you what, he's like, yeah, we're getting them help. You know, we just now been able to get it. A lot of them work for us, and we're just doing as much as we can quick enough. And I said, look, I understand it. I completely understand. I was like, what do you need though? Like, what do they need? How can I get them help? He's like, well, that's the problem. They don't want the help. Like, they're scared. They're scared of authorities, and they don't want to get in trouble because they don't, you know. And these are families, man. These are kids. I was like, I don't care. We're gonna get them help. And so hung up with this guy, and he gave me 2 churches up there, Hispanic churches, that basically they know everything going on in the community with that group. And so we called, couldn't get answers, and then get a message about 10 minutes later, and it was the young lady who had contacted my contact for help. That was her brother that commented on the Facebook page that called me. And so then he texts me, he goes, hey man, that's my sister, you know, that just contacted such and such. I'm like, literally, I looked back at the text in all caps. I was like, no way. Like, I couldn't believe it. It's like, here we go again, you know? And it was, you know, then it was like, you know, you get the messages like, so that Monday, a truckload basically showed up that Monday afternoon. This was like Monday evening, and she had just gotten around to get service to relay the message back to that network that 2 trucks of cots had gotten dropped off at the church today, the Hispanic church, and they're being dispersed now and delivered. And I'm like, what, dude? Like, so this whole time we're running around freaking out, like trying to get them help, and God was working already.
Yep.
Like, he was already behind the scenes. Truck was en route with 2 truckloads of cots and beds for him.
Yep.
But I think, like, after it's all said and done, you know, you don't have time to look at the messages that are like, hey, thanks for what you're doing, you know. And then you go back and you kind of start looking at those, and you realize, like, people were seeing our stuff all over the country. And it was weird, you know, because it's like social media is kind of a blessing in disguise. You wanted to keep it private with kids now, but then here we are, we open up the floodgates. And I think the final day, it was last Monday. It was our last day, and we had stopped taking donations at noon that Friday and gotten a truck out, and so we knew we had one truck left, down to like the pallet count. We did about 20 to 25 pallets a truck. So that times 14, I can't remember the exact count, but it was hundreds of pallets, we got out. But, and so I finally got a chance to kind of sit down and reflect a little bit, waiting on that last truck. We got everything done and staged. And, I got this message, at the end of the day, and it was from a gentleman in Winfield, Iowa. I guess it says it tells you where he lives, I guess, Winfield, Iowa. I'm like, holy smokes, that's the first thing I saw. And then the message read, "We don't know each other. I'm not asking for anything, but you have helped me out tremendously today. I work at a school in Iowa, and we had a student that lost their life in a car accident earlier this morning. Her name was Rowan Ross. I came to Facebook and searched her name to look for any post about her to help me cope. I wasn't able to find many posts about her, but I found a lot about you, and it seems like you are doing incredible things for people. I'm thankful to find you, as now I can feel like her positive spirit lives on. She wanted to be a nurse. Keep doing great things. Love from Iowa." And I'm like, oh, of course, here. My next question is like, what can we do for her? What can we do for her family? Like, who are these people? Like, do they live in your town? I hit him back, I started asking him all these questions, and he's like, we're just trying to figure out more info. I was like, did you know her? This and that. I was like, do you know her family? Like, can we reach out to them? What can we do? And he sent me a GoFundMe link, which I shared on my story. I'd love to go look and see how much is in there tonight, but it was just some friends of theirs that passed away in a car accident that night, and he was just trying to find information on what was next, and you go and see if there's anything that the family had put out, and I guess found me and saw everything we were doing. But it's like you don't even think about that though. It's not like you're not trying to like touch people's lives that are in Iowa right now. We're trying to touch people's lives that are in Western North Carolina, who's our mountain neighbors. And, but it's like just yet another reminder,
And for the people listening, her name was Rowan Ross, and Ross's name is Ross Rowan. So it was just flipped, and that's how he found Ross on Facebook.
Yeah. And I
Which,
guess
what are the
videos.
odds?
I know. It's wild.
Yeah. So I was like, that one got me pretty good. I was like, whoa, it was just like a dagger, after for 2 weeks full speed, and we were doing our thing, and hardly time to slow down. And then this guy hits me at the end of the last day. And with that, and I was just like, I sent it to her, and I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like, why me? Why us? And it just, it definitely restored my faith in humanity, and I'll be the first to say it restored my faith, in God and my relationship with God. And it's for the first week, it was crazy. We were just trying to keep up, come home, do the kid thing too, and be husband and wife. And then it's like second week, we were like, all right, now we can kind of talk to each other. So because she took a load off me, and so now she's got this whole other area that she's running with and being awesome with these mamas in town and doing their own thing, because we had contacts that from the hospital and other organizations that that needed breast pumps and lactate and all these other supplies, and she can tell you more about that, but definitely proud of the mamas. They were doing stuff I didn't even know was happening until it showed up. All these women showed up at the office with all these mama goods, and she's like, "Is Rebecca here?" I'm like, some ladies out here looking for you.
She's out back with the toddler hanging on her back and the two other kids scaling the building.
Megacorp has turned into a full-on nonprofit.
They Megacorp. I mean, I can't speak on it enough how helpful and organized and
From the top to the bottom.
Oh,
I mean,
it was incredible to
yeah,
watch everyone.
I didn't ask them, I didn't ask everybody to stop working. I didn't ask everybody to, we would be, I'd come in and yell, hey, we got a truck here. Everybody got a hand. Like, that was it. And so whoever was free would come out there, run out there.
Yeah.
But then it was like the more it went on, you'd walk in there and just more people were out there boxing stuff up. You didn't I didn't have to ask, like they knew, they got it. Like they knew how much it meant to me. And, Ryan and Denise Legg, our owners of the company, they're incredible. They knew right when I called that how much it meant to me, and they didn't even hesitate. And they let us use the office for a couple weeks. And, for a minute there, I thought we were going to need like a warehouse or something. I mean, we probably would have if we would have kept it going. We had somebody come by today looking to drop donations off 3 weeks later.
I think everybody was.
I guess now they saw that 14th truck go out. I don't know. Then they knew we were good. I don't know, but yeah, we've had a couple come by this week, and we've redirected them to a couple other locations. I think that are still taking goods, but it was just a good, solid week. I think for me specifically, and I know for her as well. But I think we needed that. I needed that as far as a God standpoint. I needed that for my relationship with him. And because I, dealing with stuff in the past that has caused me to, either with trust or whatever, but it's like, I trust him,
Yep.
I trust him. And that's the one we can always trust besides my wife. But
trust him more.
It was just incredible. It's like, you try to explain it to people, and it's like, all right, do I write a book about this? Do I come on a podcast and tell my story?
Yep.
Do I,
all of it.
So yeah, thanks for having us, but it's been awesome. I feel like as a family, we've come closer to God, Phoebe keeps us in line with that too.
So sweet.
But, it's been incredible. I think, just to see my office come together alone, and work together like that. And for Wrightsville Beach and Wilmington and the surrounding beach community that came and showed up for us, to the local, businesses that were getting donations that would bring them to us to get up there. I mean, it was just awesome. And so, like I said, it goes back on to what I was saying earlier. It's like, if you don't believe it after this week, I don't really know how much else to prove it to you. Because what was supposed to be one truck was simply 14 trucks later and $33,000 later,
in an entire state and others
10 days,
Yes.
So, and just people coming together from out of state. And I mean, I couldn't imagine how devastating it would be if we didn't have social media, I guess.
Yep.
To be able to share different posts and different needs with people, and tagging people that know somebody over here in this other state that would help. And I think, she's seeing that too with what they're doing now. They've got people coming in from all over wanting to help. Everybody wants to help still. It's just, every day is changing. We dropped off 41, how many buckets was it?
I think it was 47.
47 buckets. Talk about needs changing. Judd went back up today, his family, and they took up 40 some buckets filled with cleaning supplies that so we dropped off at Cornerstone, and then my brother and some folks took a load out to Trade, Tennessee. And so I think for him to be able, he's been in Ashe County this whole time, so I think for him to be able to go out there and see a different area. I've been hearing about this area. I mean, it's like, growing up going to the lake.
Yes.
You know how it is out there.
Yeah.
It's like you go out there and it's a 2-lane going out there for one.
And it's a scary road.
And then when you get out there, you're turning onto another 1-lane road,
Yep.
going across the bridge here, going across the bridge there. And it's all, trailer community, small homes on just the side of a hill.
Next to the water.
A lot washed out there. I mean, it's hard to think about how beautiful it is up there, and then, it's leaf season right now. It's already snowed, it's like all these other things that are usually supposed to happen. And it's like, we can't get excited for,
Yes.
quite yet, but it's good to see that some parts are coming back and opening up the town, and because they're going to need it. That's another way I think that people are going to be able to help is to, go up there when they're ready, for us. But some areas are. So, towns are opening up and they're needing that economy back, obviously, too, because leaf season is a huge season for that area, with tourists and everything. So,
And ski season.
yeah, coming up.
Well, and I just appreciate you guys for being so honest about everything and your experience. I think when you are the person in it, you are experiencing some of those kind of negative, more distracting DMs or people trying to make things one way or the other, on top of the 99% of people that are just here to help and wanting to do the thing that makes the difference. And I think it's an important thing to note, because when you are the person receiving all of this incoming stuff of wanting to be a servant, but also feeling exhausted and trying to still live your life and meet all the needs, and it's already hard. And then you get a little bit of that negativity, it can almost a little bit break the momentum. It's hard to not become obsessed with those little comments that you would have such easy ways to like squelch. And what you realize is, over the course of getting older, you come to realize people are just who they are, no matter what the thing is. And I think it's important, especially in the face of like hurricanes and disaster relief, or even the election coming up, or whatever it is, the majority of people, whether we agree on certain topics the exact same or not, want cohesion. The majority of people are looking at the coin of peace and kindness, encouragement, and one person's perspective is heads and the other's is tails. It's the same coin. And I love like Rebecca's reminder, because where the enemy gets us, and it just reminds me of that Bible verse that says we're not fighting against flesh and blood. Your enemy is not the person that DM'd you and thought that they were being noble because they didn't maybe have money to donate or something to contribute, that by telling the highest contributor, oh, well, look here, you're not perfect here. That was them like thinking they were doing the noble thing, maybe, right? And then there are just also people that are just mean or whatever, but they're not the enemy.
Right.
And that's what the enemy wants us to think, right? That's what this division wants us to think. When I see all of these things that try to create division, it's people that are being hijacked by these concepts and maybe thinking that they're in their right mind, but it says that our war is against the principalities of the unseen world. And so if we are called as believers to say that we believe this man Jesus walked the perfect life, and through his sacrifice we get the gift of the Holy Spirit, then we have a new lens to look through life. We don't get to play in those little skirmishes and those little battles, because we know those aren't people that we're against. It's just the enemy trying to distract. And I'm so appreciative that you shared that, because I think a lot of people in the service, sector or leaders and people that have a lot of responsibility to do a lot of good, they get bogged down. Even if it's just a little bit of negativity, that becomes like the loud echo chamber majority sometimes, and it can be exhausting. But really what it is people want to do good, people want to help, and when we keep our vision on that, everything else just begins to dissipate and it doesn't have life.
Yeah.
And I'm just so glad that that's what you guys did. And I'm sorry that you got any negativity at all, because it's like so shocking. But also it's just another reminder of our flesh and how good it feels when we reside in the divinity of our spirit.
Yeah.
And we can literally rise beyond that and be like, I see that, and the way I see turning the other cheek is like making a 180-degree turn. Like, I see this behavior and I'm choosing a different way, and you can even come with me. Like, I
Yes.
even will walk with you there.
I was going to say, that was kind of my mindset of when he would share some negative comments. It was like, wow, we just have like such a beautiful thing happening in the midst of tragedy, where God is just like bringing us all together. So maybe we should just pray for them. Like,
Yes.
pray for them, and genuinely love them, even when you don't agree with them. Because like you said, that's the whole point, is bring them with us.
Yes.
Even because they just want, truly, people that are saying comments like that, they want to be heard.
Yep.
And it may be coming out a negative way. It may be a strategy that the enemy is using us to distract. But it's like, okay, well, I can shift my focus here for just a second and pray for you. And then we got to get back to work, if that makes any sense.
That's so good. And it's like, and I only talk about this because I think we're living in a time where sometimes that voice can feel really loud, and that's where social media gets a bad rap. But I think it is important for people to not feel alone and isolated in that way. And I remember just when 2020 was going down and everyone had an opinion on everything and it felt loud. And then it was same with Maui and same with this. And like somehow we hijacked these really tragic things and turn them into war. But what's so exciting is when you actually see it for what it is and the Holy Spirit like takes hold of your heart, you can say, oh, like I know this game. I'm not participating. And guess what? Like you can, if that's what feels good for you, but also like join our team. Like come with us.
You're always welcome
You're
here.
always welcome here.
And that's what happened. It's like, it's, you know, a couple of them shockingly they live up there. They live in the area and were affected. But they might have gotten some help on day 2. They were just fortunate enough that they came to their area first. But there's still people that, even in Boone, that still have not gotten help. And, you know, it's, I know for a fact when it was happening, you know, and you're like caught off guard by their comments or their DMs or whatever. And it's like, you know that they live there. And it's like, my first question back was, are you good? Do you need anything? Like, what can we do for you? And they're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be, wait, what? Like, and I'm just like, I mean, what are you doing? Like, what are you, like, you know, we're just trying to do good. Like, we don't need the distractions type of thing. And then it's like, but what can we do for you? Like, are you good? Like, well, you know, and then they'll be like, wait a minute, this is, I'm supposed to be, it's like throws them off. But it's like, you know, this just goes back. It's like everybody just couldn't get help quick enough. And some people were fortunate enough to get it quicker. But then, you know, you've got a majority up there that have just taken it upon themselves, and the community coming together and everybody using their own trucks and tractors and building it back, man, building it stronger. And it's just awesome to watch. It makes you feel proud to be from up there, you know, I mean, you know that feeling. And so, I thought the cool thing was at the end of it, you know, and I had the last night I had about $1,600 in the Venmo. And I asked, speaking of Boone, and I asked those boys, I said, you know, y'all are from up there, you know, I'm gonna let y'all make the decision. Like we can either, you know, I'd like to either donate this and fuel back to y'all. Cause I mean, they did 10 trucks, 10 out of the 14, you know, didn't ask for a dime. T&J Produce. I mean, these guys were Trevor and John Critcher and Joseph and his brother Jared, both drivers for him. I mean, they were just sending their drivers down and just didn't even ask. Just the only thing they asked was, when do you need the next one and where's it going? But I said, guys, I want to do this for you. Like, I either going to donate the fuel back to you, or I thought it would be cool if y'all wanted to choose an organization for that to go to. And of course, you know, they said SP, and so we left the Venmo open that night, and I cut it off the next day, and we ended up donating $3,000 to Samaritan's Purse. Because I know they were showing up in Boone, obviously, you know, that's where those guys were from too, and so they had 5,000 volunteers, I think, in Watauga County at one point, working on the ground, and I talked to plenty of people up there, and it was like every street you ride by, you look down and there's orange shirts everywhere. So that was pretty cool. They definitely did a bunch, and Convoy for Hope, they did a bunch as well. They came over. So it's been cool. I mean, everybody's coming from all over the place. They want to help. You know, it's people loading up their own ATVs and tractors and stuff and wanting to come help, you know, that I've lined up with different places. But it was just really neat. It was really neat to see God moving and God working through not only us, but our city and town here and our community, and then just everybody involved, whether, you know, you were coming to tape a box up. I mean, that box you helped, you know, it went a long way, like, you know, but I'm just glad that, you know, I'm glad we were able to do it. You know, I'm glad that we were able to have folks like y'all to donate to and bring donations. And it was just, you know, you don't want to see anything like this again, you know, obviously. But I just, like I said, it would be a beautiful thing if we could just keep treating each other like this and just being there for your neighbor, you know, before you are yourself. Because, I think, you know, you learn about Jesus, and that's basically, that's him, you know.
Amen.
So that's just, you know, that's what we're put on earth to do, and is strive to be as close as we can, and live like him. So
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that the people in Western North Carolina that were affected, they went through something impossible. So the way they're going to respond, some days are going to be like overly joyful. Some days they're going to be irritable and say things out of anger and just confusion and trying to get their life back together. And grieving can look like anger sometimes. And I think it's just worth mentioning, like remembering that they're processing these things, and we just need to love them through it, even if there's lashing out or anything. Like, we just need to love them like Jesus would.
Amen. So while we were on the break, we were kind of talking about just how exhausting and exhilarating service is. And now that it's over, you guys were like talking about how in the moment you're like, okay, like maybe a sense of normalcy one day would be nice. And then you're loading up that last box and it's really emotional. And what I was going to mention to the listeners is when I lived in Boone, that's where I was born and raised, as you guys know. And during Christmas, I would go and volunteer for Samaritan's Purse. And I was usually in middle school or high school when petty drama was a thing. And you're like, oh my goodness, this guy just broke up with me, or I didn't get invited to that sleepover, or whatever it was. And I remember I would go into Samaritan's Purse, and it was the closest to heaven I had ever felt. And you would just be like getting all of these toys and these boxes and looking at the children that would be receiving it. And every year I would just be sobbing. And it just reminded me of the power of giving, and that when you are in your own personal dark place and you really feel like you need to receive, the best ointment for that is to give. And a couple of places in Boone that I know about just because I'm from there, Wine to Water. Do you guys know about them?
Oh yeah, Doc.
Yeah.
Doc
So,
Henley, yeah.
yep. I dedicated my 21st birthday to them, and they actually came down here and we did a fundraiser at Bottega
That is
downtown.
awesome. No way.
And they stocked the whole bar with their wine, and all the proceeds that were
Oh my
made
gosh,
that
that's
night
awesome.
went to them. And getting to see what Doc did, because if you guys don't know about Wine to Water, he started as a bartender.
Mm-hmm.
The first miracle that Jesus did was turn water into wine at the wedding. And Doc used that concept to start his own wine company, and he would go down to Africa and show these different communities how to build their own wells and be able to provide water for themselves. So he's used to war-torn areas. He's used to areas that you're really not supposed to be going to for, dangerous reasons or whatever. They utilized their skills in Boone to get into those darker, deeper areas of the woods that you really couldn't penetrate, and were able to help families in need, which is awesome. Samaritan's Purse is another great one. I can't recommend them enough. But just talking on the power of service, now that it's all done, how full do your hearts feel? And even though you're exhausted, and even though you've done so much, and even though when you were in it, I'm sure it was really tough, do you feel addicted to the sensation of wanting to dedicate like more time to things like this?
I think it feels like the whole point of life kind of fully clicked. Like, this is the purpose of living, is to serve others and to glorify his kingdom. Because, you grow up, well, I did personally, volunteering with my mom and stuff like that. It just feels like it's just something you do until it hits you personally. And Ross and Kelsey and I, we were all talking about this. It's like, we've volunteered our whole lives, but we've never felt the Holy Spirit move like we did during the Western North Carolina work. Like, it was bigger than us, for sure. Like, we have countless people that would come up to us and be like, thank you for what you're doing. And it was so kind of them. But at the same time, I'm like, that was all God. Like, it's kind of you say thank you, but truly that was the Holy Spirit moving and showing up when his people were hurting. So yeah. What about you?
Definitely. Yeah, you definitely nailed it. We grew up volunteering. I mean, her mom is like the volunteer queen, so we love her for it. I mean, she got me involved with Weekend Meals on Wheels. So we work together on the board with that. She's been doing that for years. So I've been on for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, and it's been awesome. It's part of who we are. It really doesn't take that much to give back. And then when you do it and you see what it does, it is an amazing feeling. But at the same time, you're trying to be like, you got to stay humble. Like, God, keep me humble, because we can sit here and do all these wonders of the world. And, again, next week, people forget about the storm, and so we're obviously working to do some long-term things, but I think that it's now truly is the first time we've like sat down and like talked about a bunch of stuff. And so we haven't really gotten time to like really hang out and sit down and process any of it, to be honest with you. Other than that's why I kind of like have shared tidbits on my social media or whatever, because for one, I thought I would forget about it, and then second, it was just too good not to share. But yeah, I mean, you look back on it, and you're definitely you're filled for sure. It's just your goal is to keep it filled. And so whether we're volunteering for Weekend Meals on Wheels, we've got our big event coming up November 2nd. Quick plug.
Yep.
Blue Water parking lot. If y'all are around,
3:30 for volunteers. Is that right?
Come on by 3:30.
Yep. I'm going to be there.
Yep,
bringing couples with me.
But last year was our biggest year, so I mean, all of our proceeds go back to Weekend Meals on Wheels. So we feed the same senior shut-ins on the weekends as we do during the weekdays year round. So the weekday portion is funded by the government, as much as that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. I've always asked that, why we're even a thing, but it's cool because we get to step in and but it's all money we raise. So Blue Water lets us use their parking lot, and we bring a big tent out there, and all the local restaurants and stuff from Wrightsville Beach and that area over there come out, and we do a big taste test and all that stuff, and food and beverage, and we have a big raffle section. And this year the board has agreed with me to that all the raffle tickets, all the proceeds for raffles will go to Western North Carolina and feeding.
Wow.
Working with the Weekend Meals on Wheels programs out in Western North Carolina. So
out in Ashe County.
Yeah. So we've been working with a few up there that we're going to try and get set up with. So that was really awesome. I knew we had to do something, we got to do something there. And so, last year we had a fallout with somebody that was supposed to be coming and doing the presenting, and so they all knew that I guess went to school for it, was on the radio, did this stuff. So I got on the mic, and all I did was talk about raffles. I was like, everybody get a raffle ticket, everybody get a raffle ticket. So it was funny, but I was like, that's what we got to do. Like, we got to. So I was just hounding everybody for raffles. We had the biggest year we've ever had for raffles. And so, that's the goal again this year, especially because it's going to go back to Western North Carolina. So really loving that the board, helped me out with that, and we'll be able to put that together. But yeah, come out, get a ticket. You can get tickets online. I'll give you the link to that too. But it's just, I think we just, as a whole, I mean, I feel like even Phoebe loves to come help and serve and help others. So it's just, you just got to keep it filled. I think that's the ultimate goal. And there's a lot of cool ways to do that around just our own town, that people don't realize, but we'll continue to share how we can on things to do. And it's a long road to recovery, but and obviously it's not just North Carolina. Florida, Georgia, South Carolina was affected. Tennessee, just over the line, was they're just as bad, But obviously, it's close to home for us, Western North Carolina. So that's kind of where we went with. But we're gonna try and help more areas, obviously, and expand it. So,
back to serving, I think too, there's just a peace when it's not about you all the time.
Yep.
As strange as that is to say, because we live in a society where it's very like self-gratifying, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just think sometimes that can make someone feel overwhelmed, or at least for me. So serving others, like there's just a peace in knowing it's not about me. It's
Yep.
about loving others and glorifying his kingdom.
Amen. I mean, just sitting in front of you guys and hearing all that you've done and the humility in which you do it and the family that you've created and the connections that you've made and just the heart that you've poured in it, you know, makes me emotional. It makes me so thankful to know people like you and to think that our community and our state has people like you and that you've opened your heart to the Lord and used that in good ways. And my papa passed away 2 years ago at 101. He was such a good man, him and all his buddies. And when I look across at the two of you guys, I think, okay, that generation has passed, but I look at you guys and I see my papa and my mama and the two of y'all. And we used to always say, what are we going to do when that generation is gone? But I think that these hard times are forging good people again.
Yeah.
And so you guys have just given me so much hope. You've given our community so much hope. You've given Western North Carolina so much hope. And I just want you to know that all of your hard work saved lives. It saved lives. And that does not go unnoticed. And when you take your final breath and you meet your Creator, He is going to be so proud. And that's what we're doing this for, right?
Yeah.
To serve Him in honor of Him, because of Him and through Him. Amen. So I just thank you guys. And I hope that you'll join me again for many more episodes to come with all of the things you're doing to make this world a better place. Is there any final things that you guys want to share before we seal up?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone else that that made this all happen. Everyone who donated, everyone who was eager to pitch in however they could.
Yes.
And thank you to you for having us on here and for all the kind words. I'm like, don't cry.
We lost our grandmother. She was 99, and that was 2 weeks before this happened.
Wow.
We had just had a whole house full of people.
We
at
just
our
had a
house
whole house full of
hosting
people.
A funeral.
She was from Wilmington, and she was about as good as they come. I feel like her and your grandparents would have been best friends. She just,
And she
was
was a
the light.
mamaw.
She was a mamaw,
Mamaws are the
and
best.
she loved the Lord, man. She loved the Lord, and she always, whenever you ask her how she was, I didn't hear her complain until the end. I mean, yeah, I just
She
knew
still
her.
didn't really
She didn't really,
complain.
it's what she fell and she had an accident, had to go to rehab, learn how to walk again. The first time I heard her complain was when she was ready to get out of there and go back to her other
To her
home.
home.
Yeah, to the
Yeah.
place that she was at. And so, she's been a huge light to me and to Rebecca, obviously, since she met her. I mean, we became very close with her. We didn't have much of a relationship our whole lives until I moved to Wilmington. I didn't have a relationship with my mamaw. And so for the past 12 years, we grew on that and we became best friends. And I had a lot of catching up to do, but I'm glad I did because I learned so much from her. I mean, she loved her church. She loved the people at the church. All her friends. I mean, they were coming to Winston to visit her. I mean, that was just who she was. But it's, we were reminded from our aunt and uncle who live out in Arizona, her daughter and son-in-law, that, they messaged us and they were like, you know what, like, because Jordan, he's been doing a ton up there too, and Matt and his family have been doing stuff in Winston and
That's
going
Ross's
up there.
brothers.
Those are my brothers. And they just reminded us, like, Mamaw would have been proud of you, and I hadn't even had time to think about stuff like that. But it's just what you said. I mean, that's who we looked up to. That's who we want to live after. Like, they were saints, man, and they did their thing and lived for the Lord every day, and they weren't scared of it. They weren't we have these conversations. It's like, the stuff you see online and stuff you see on social media and everybody's opinions and politics and this and that. It's like, can you imagine if people posted on social media about their love for Jesus Christ as much as they love whoever they're going to vote for, or whoever they're, whatever the case is. I mean, and I've thought about that more after this, because obviously the past couple of weeks, and then we get down to the season we're in now with the politics and the elections and stuff. But I just keep thinking about that. I'm like, golly, like so much more stuff, more positive stuff could be, used on these outlets and these media platforms. I mean, just so much more good than the negativity. And obviously the good outweighed the negativity over the past few weeks. Don't get me wrong. It was just, there was a few that tried to interfere, but we didn't let them, So, but I think, we look up to folks like that, like your grandparents and my mama, and, my nana and pop were the same way. They were church going, didn't miss a Sunday, didn't miss an event. Everybody, they loved everybody at church. Everybody loved them. And, they just, they taught us how to love others, and to be there for others. And her parents and her grandparents were the same way too. They all, they just love to give back. I mean, your grandmother, they were missionaries, right? So they were
great
grandparents were, and so that trickles down, So we're just doing the light work, it's what it seems like. It is heavy, but it's like, that's from compared to what Jesus did for us, and
it's the least we could
we're the least we could do,
be his hands and feet.
Yeah, we're literally on when you got feet on the ground in Western North Carolina. It's like, that's what we're put on this earth to do. We're here to serve and to help others. And he put a lot together for us over the past couple of weeks that we definitely couldn't have done without him. And there's no coincidences there. It's all God's work, and I've been reassured of that too after the past couple of weeks. So.
Well, thank you guys. And please join us again. Keep us updated with all the things. I'll have a link to Revel Without a Cause.
With a cause.
With a cause.
Yes.
With a cause.
Yeah, gotta have the cause.
Yeah, gotta have the cause. And then the Meals on Wheels event. It's Taste Wilmington.
Taste of Wrightsville Beach.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, for weekend Meals on Wheels.
Yep. And so all the ticket proceeds will go towards that, and we're sending it to Western North Carolina's Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, so all the proceeds from ticket sales and like drink tickets will all go back to Weekend Meals on Wheels here. That's usually what the event is for.
Okay.
But this year, this particular time, we're going to do all the raffle proceeds will go to Western North Carolina, and working with Weekend Meals on Wheels up there. So
great. Well, thank you guys, and have a great rest of your night. It's nighttime now. And to all the listeners, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.